I'm going to show you everything you need to know to play Warlock Affliction in Mr. Pandaria. Starting off with the races, you're going to want to go with Troll if you are Horde. For the Berserking buff, it's 20% haste on a 2-minute cooldown. And then Worgen if you're on Alliance, as they have some extra crit. Now you can get some extra movement speed buffs as well with Worgen, but mainly we're going with them for the critical strike chance. Moving quickly onto the talents, there's no such thing as a default build anymore. Most of this is kind of utility based in the talents. It has changed a lot since Cataclysm. So we have talents at each line here at different levels. So level 15, we have Dark Regeneration, Soul Leech or Harvest Life. Dark Regeneration is going to restore some of your life and increase healing received for 12 seconds. It's also going to restore some of your pet's life but has a 2-minute cooldown. Soul Leech, however, is a passive ability that grants you some self-healing on top of your important offensive abilities, which are also going to heal you for some of the damage that those abilities do. And Harvest Life increases the damage of your Drain Life spell and the healing of it. So it really depends on the situation as to which one you're going to take for this one. Dark Regeneration is really good for, occasional on-demand healing on a cooldown. Soul Leech is good if you need a constant source of self-healing, and Harvest Life can only be really used if there's enough enemies for you to actually attack. On tier 2, we have Howl of Terror, causing enemies to run away in fear nearby. Mortal Coil, which again on a 45-second cooldown, causes the target to run in horror for 3 seconds, and it also restores some of your health. And then Shadow Fury stuns all nearby enemies. So again, it just depends on the situation here. Mortal Coil, in my opinion, would be the default choice, as you do have that heal on top of there as well. On the next line, the most attractive I would say is going to be Dark Bargain, another 3-minute cooldown, prevents all damage for 8 seconds, and when the shield fades, 50% of damage prevented is dealt over 8 seconds, so that's basically just slowing damage down and dealing it to you later. Unbound Will on the 4th line is a really good option, purge all magic effects, movement impairing effects, and everything that stops you basically from controlling your character, and that's on a 1-minute cooldown. Going on to tier 5, the Grimoire of Sacrifice for Affliction will be best. Again, another 30-second cooldown. You sacrifice your demon to gain one of its abilities, increasing the power of many of your single target spells, and regenerating some health. And this is going to last for an entire hour. So basically, you'd be doing it all the time. So what do we actually get from the demons that we're sacrificing? Well, if it's your Imp, you're going to dispel 1 stack of most debuffs using Imp Singe magic. And then Fell Hunter, you have Spell Lock, which is an interrupt, especially in dungeons, etc. Using your Fell Hunter and then sacrificing it with the Grimoire of Sacrifice will be really, really useful for getting an extra interrupt. For your Void Walker, it's going to be Shadow Bulwark, where it temporarily increases your health. And Succubus, it's going to be a Whiplash, which is an AoE damage and knockback. If you are in Demonology, you do obviously get another one, but we're not. We're an Affliction Warlock, so we don't. But I just wanted to give you an FYI, basically. So what I'm going to do is summon my Fell Hunter here, and go Grimoire of Sacrifice. As you can see at the top here, I've got the buff for a whole hour. And now you can see I have Spell Lock, which is a special ability, which is actually my Fell Hunter's ability, and it's now in my spellbook under Warlock. And then we have Archimonde's Darkness, Kil'jaeden's Cunning, or Manaroth's Fury. So Archimonde's Darkness, your Dark Soul spells have 2 charges. This causes your target to basically suffer some of the damage you take for 8 seconds, and would have a 2-minute cooldown. When the ability is off cooldown, enemies who attack you suffer 5% of all damage they deal to you. This would be pretty much the default one that you would be going with at the moment. We have Kil'jaeden's Cunning, enables you to cast and channel while moving for 6 seconds. So if there's a lot of movement-heavy mechanics going on in the fight, then this is actually going to be really, really efficient here, as you can cast Malefic Grasp, Incinerate, and Shadow Bolt whenever on the move. Manaroth's Fury is on a 1-minute cooldown and increases the area of effect of your AoE spells, basically. So if you've got a hell of a lot of enemies near you, etc., that you're dealing with in AoE, then Manaroth's Fury would be the better one to go to. But generally, Archimonde's Darkness is the one we'll be going with. Moving on to the Glyphs, we don't have anything fantastic. They've actually changed quite a lot from the olden days of Pandaria and taken out some of our really good Glyphs. So we have, well, there was a Glyph, for example, that gave us 4 soul shards rather than 3, but we get that as default now this time around in MoP Classic, so it's an improvement, really. The ones I would go with is Glyph of Siphon Life. Your Corruption spell, which we will be using, will heal you when dealing damage, so it's an extra passive healing. Glyph of Healthstone, you receive more healing from it, but it's restored over 10 seconds, so heal over time. And then Glyph of Eternal Resolve, you can no longer activate it, but it passively provides 10% damage reduction from all sources. This glyph means that you don't get this defensive, but you now do get a constant damage reduction. On the minor glyphs, Nightmares, your steed can then basically run across water. Health Funnel, it instantly restores some of your demon's health, but has a 10-second cooldown. As obviously we're mostly sacrificing our demons, so it's not as useful, but you know. And then Glyph of Unending Breath increases the swim speed of targets affected by your Unending Breath. So they're very, very situational, but it's the only ones that really actually do anything for us. For Mr. Pandaria Classic, I'm teaming up with Zygor to give you 20% off with code Javier. Zygor gives you the fastest and most efficient leveling experience. As you can see here, looking at killing snow leopards, I can even click all the different waypoint coordinates to see the fastest way to get to the different areas they may be in. It can also look at flight paths and show me which ways to go, including all of the different travel options. And when choosing quest rewards, it can even tell me which is the best upgrade for me. And this will be even spec dependent. I can click on the gloves, complete the quest, and then it will even tell me to equip them and shows me how much attributes and stats I will gain by equipping these items. Maybe even talents. I can use the talent advisor with Zygor, simply clicking that I want to be an Affliction Warlock, and it's going to configure it automatically to show me the best leveling build for Affliction for me. The fun doesn't stop there though, because it's available for SOD, Classic, Retail, Leveling. I can choose zones I want to go into, and it'll tell me how to get there and do all of the leveling in that zone, even if you're going back to old zones that you've leveled out of. Dungeons, dailies, events, reputation, gold making, professions, pets and mounts, and achievements. You can use as little or as much as you like. And don't forget, you can get 20% off with code Javier and battle past everyone at lightning speed in Mr. Pandaria Classic. Now onto the exciting bit, which is of course the rotation. It's fairly simple as an Affliction Warlock. We have these things here called Soul Shards, and these are going to regenerate out of combat passively. That's due to something called Soul Harvest. You and your demon absorb nearby wandering souls, generating health outside of combat, however disabled in arenas. So we have up to 4 Soul Shards up here, and 1 or 2 of our spells will be spending them. So the main objective here as an Affliction Warlock is to keep your dots, or damage over time spells, up on the target at all time. So we have 4 main ones really: Agony, Corruption, Unstable Affliction, and Haunt. Agony inflicts agony on the target, and this damage will increase the longer it is up on the target. Corruption does shadow damage over 18 seconds. Unstable Affliction, again, will do damage over about 15 seconds. And Haunt sends a ghostly soul into the target, dealing damage and increasing all periodic spell damage done by your spells on the target for up to 8 seconds. So you want to keep all of these up at all the time. Now, when you go into combat, however, we could do something sneaky. We have an ability called Soul Burn. It costs a Soul Shard, consumes a Soul Shard, unlocking the hidden power of your spells. So I use Soul Burn, and then you can see that certain spells here are now highlighted. We're going to use Soul Swap. As you see at the bottom of the tooltip, it says Soul Burn applies Corruption, Unstable Affliction, and Agony without removing them from a target. So when you go into combat, you want to immediately use Soul Burn and then use your Soul Swap. And that is basically going to put all 3 dots on the target. You can then go immediately and use your Haunt to increase the damage we're doing to that target for 8 seconds. All you then need to do is keep refreshing your dots on your target. Now, you don't want to let the dots actually fall off the target, but you do want to only use them when 50% of the duration is left. So as you can see, Unstable Affliction has under 50% left. I'm going to use it. Same with all my other ones. And with Agony here, you can see Agony will stay at 10 stacks. Now, the reason for that is because of a few passives we have. Pandemic, when refreshing your periodic damage effects, the duration remaining from the previous effect is added to the new one up to a maximum of 50% of base duration. Meaning, as you can see, Corruption has 8 seconds left. If I add that on, it's now going to do 24 seconds rather than 18. It adds on the duration. So with Agony, but only after 50% has done. So if I refresh it immediately, like now, it's going to be wasting it. However, if you do it like now on Corruption, with less than 50% of the duration remaining, it will add that remaining duration onto the new one, which means you never have to let your dots fall off the target. cases especially matter like Agony, where it does more damage the longer it's on the target, for example. So when you first go into combat, use Soulburn, and then immediately use Soul Swap to get those dots up, and then just refresh these dots to make sure that they're staying up on the target at all times, and then you're going to use Haunt as well, and making sure we're keeping that up on the target. Now, Haunt will cost you a Soul Shard. However, as you can see here, sometimes we are getting a proc for a free Soul Shard from Haunt, and that's going to happen quite often passively, and that's from Nightfall. Your most recently applied Corruption has a chance when it deals damage to cause you to regain a Soul Shard, meaning we can then use Haunt, which is costing a Soul Shard. Apart from that, as a filler, we're going to be using Malefic Grasp. This is going to do some damage over a few seconds. Whenever it deals damage, it causes all your other periodic affliction damage spells to deal some damage as well. So when we use Malefic Grasp, it's basically going to be causing our dots to do damage as well. And you're using Malefic Grasp as your filler. Now, once the target gets down to 20%, you're going to replace Malefic Grasp with Drain Soul. Drains the soul of the target, dealing damage, and energizing a Soul Shard. Now, at this point, you're going to get so many Soul Shards, it's going to be ridiculous. And this is going to be doing basically more damage at 20% or lower health than Malefic Grasp will do. So, just to recap on the single target rotation, go into combat. You're going to Soul Burn, and then Soul Swap immediately. Refresh your dots only after they're at 50% duration remaining or less, and make sure you keep up Haunt at all times as well. And then use Malefic Grasp as a filler. And then at 20% health or less, you change Malefic Grasp over to Drain Soul. And that's really it. When you do go into combat, we do want to use Curse of the Elements if no other person is also providing this debuff. This will increase magic damage taken by your target by 5%. For AoE and multiple targets, if it's 2 to 3 targets, we can go in with Soul Burn and Soul Swap. And we use basically Malefic Grasp or Drain Soul, depending on their health, to do kind of filler damage. And then Seed of Corruption we're going to use if we have 4 or more targets. This basically puts a seed on the target that will do loads of damage, and then when they die or once a certain amount of damage has been done, the seed will explode, doing damage to everyone nearby. We then have our cooldowns. Our main one is Dark Soul Misery. Infuses your soul with the Misery of Fallen Foes, increasing spell haste by 30% for 20 seconds. Now, one thing to mention here, your dots will actually do damage based on the spell power and haste, etc. that you have. Meaning, if I use Agony and then I drink a potion, Agony won't be affected by the potion. If I drink the potion and then apply Agony, then Agony will get the increased spell power of that potion. So you ideally want to make sure that you're drinking your potion, getting your buffs up, and then refreshing all of your dots. If, however, you are, say, got 50% on Agony, and you think, well, let's say you've just refreshed Agony even, and you drink a potion, you should not refresh your dots just to get the added effect of the potion. It generally is a DPS lost and waste of time to do that, but try and time it so that you're about to drink your potion as you're about to refresh your dots anyway. I mentioned that because obviously Dark Soul Misery with the increased spell haste would be one of the things you want to do when you're doing that. And if you notice that you have 2 stacks of it, that is from Archimonde's Darkness, where your Dark Soul spells have 2 charges. So your main cooldown now has 2 charges because of that talent. Then we have Summon Doomguard and Summon Infernal. They are both on a 10-minute cooldown, and they do share a cooldown. The Doomguard is better for single target, and the Infernal is much better for multi-target fights or AoE when you've got loads and loads of enemies against you. But you basically summon one that does damage. As you can see, the Doomguard here and the Infernal basically does damage to all nearby enemies instead. And that's your single target, and then your multi-target rotation, and your main cooldowns. We do have a lot of other passives, Archimonde's Darkness, of course. Our Mastery, which is Potent Afflictions, this basically just increases the damage of our dots the more Mastery we have. Nightfall, that's the one that gives you your Soul Shards for your Haunt. Now, when you use Soul Burn, if you use a Curse, so this Soul Burn here can affect other spells. If you use it with your Curse, then it will affect other nearby targets, like Cursed Elements here is now on all nearby targets. But we're mainly going to be using our Soul Burn to empower our Soul Swap. And you can see here it does actually affect a few other spells as well, mainly Soul Swap is the one we're going to be using it with. We do also have a lot of other utilities that we can use. Dark Regeneration and Dark Bargain are the two that I mentioned in the talents. Don't forget to use your Grimoire of Sacrifice. Use it on whichever mob makes sense at the time. If you need to be doing lots of interrupts, use it on your Fell Hunter, etc. You can see what the passives are if you go into Warlock. And then you can see here, Imp, your passives here, the spells you get from them, or Void Walker, Succubus, etc. You can see the spells that you would get if you use it on those ones. We can create health stones, of course, that we can use to regain health. Don't forget that we also have a Soul Well, so that our party and raid members can get health stones as well. And then we also have Dark Intent. This is infusing all party and raid members, increasing their spell power and stamina. And this is going to be used at all times, of course. Life Tap will restore mana for you, but it's going to take a large chunk of your health out. Now, you will need to use this about every 30 to 40 seconds to manage your mana. It's an unfortunate thing that us Warlocks must do. We have Fear, if we defeat enemies, Health Funnel, restoring some of your summoned demons' maximum health, which obviously we're sacrificing. We have our Ritual of Summoning, obviously to summon our raid. Soul Stone, which is basically a battle res. You can put a Soul Stone on somebody, meaning they can resurrect once they die, so your raid leader will probably tell you who to use this on. We also have Twilight Ward, a 30-second cooldown, absorbing shadow or holy damage. And that is pretty much it. And there we go. That is the main rotation, etc., and all the utilities we have at our disposal for Affliction Warlocks. Now for the stat priority. It's pretty simple in the order of what we want things. Intellect is number one. It's going to increase how much damage our spells do, and also give us a bit of crit as well. Now the second one we're going to want is Mastery. This is going to increase our damage of Agony, Corruption, and Unstable Affliction, basically increasing our dot damage, or damage over time, well, damage. So pretty simple on there. After that, you're actually going to want to get Haste, which will increase your attack speed. This will increase how quickly you cast your spells, and will also increase the number of ticks from your damage over time spells as well. Meaning the more haste we have, the more times our dots will actually do damage every time we use them. After that, you are going to want to get your hit rating. Now, expertise in Mr. Pandaria has been streamlined a bit, meaning that to get your hit cap at level 90, you need 5100 spell hit rating. Now, 1% expertise will also equal 1% hit chance as well for all spell casters. So if you are a normal race, you will actually need to hit, like I said, 5100 hit rating. If you are a gnome, however, or a human, then you will have a short blade and sword specialization, meaning if you're using one of those weapons as one of those races, then you will only need 4,760 hit rating. After hit rating, then it's just going to be critical chance. So intellect, then mastery, then haste, then hit, and then crit. And that is the order in which you want to get your stats. For the gems, you're going to want a Burning Primal Diamond in your meta slot. For your red slots, you're going to go with an Artful Vermilion Onyx or Perfect Artful Tiger Opal. Yellow slot is to be Fractured Sun's Radiance, etc. And then on the blue slot, I want to explain what I mean here. If the socket bonus on your blue slot is 60 intellect, then you want to go for Sensei's Wild Jade, etc. If, however, it's, say, 60 mastery, then what I'm saying is that the 60 mastery bonus isn't worth losing some intellect, and I'd actually rather you use a yellow gem, like a Fractured Sun Radiance, to get more intellect. So if your socket bonus on a blue slot socket is 60 intellect, go with the green ones, which obviously will fit a blue slot. If your socket bonus is not 60 intellect or more, then go with one of these gems instead. For the enchants we've got a few on the shoulders here from Inscription, but if you are an inscriber yourself, you can get this super duper whooper one as seen here. Superior intellect on your cloak and lightweave embroidery if you're a tailor. Glorious stats on your chest. Intellect again on the wrists. You can actually get fur lining with intellect if you're a leather worker, and you can also add an extra socket if you are a blacksmith, and that goes for the hands as well. On the hands, you can get Mastery, Haste, Expertise, which will of course help with the spell hit cap should you need it. Living Steel Belt Buckle, everyone can add, no matter your profession. Cerulean Spell Thread, etc. on here. And there's Master Spell Thread if you are a tailor. Pandaren Step on your feet. If you're an enchanter, you can get greater intellect on both your rings. And then you've got Jade Spirit, Elemental Force, or Wind Song on your weapons. And you can also put Major Intellect if you are using an offhand or can use an offhand as a caster as well. Regarding the professions that you may want to take, tailoring gives you about 320 intellect. Blacksmithing does, jewel crafting does, alchemy, enchanting does. They all pretty much give the same amount, but leatherworking always comes through with an extra 10 intellect. Herbalism gives 480 haste as well, so not bad. But generally, it doesn't matter which profession you take in Mists of Pandaria. For consumables, as a caster, I'm filming this on my mage, but it's the same for all casters. You want Potion of the Jade Serpent, increasing intellect by 4,000 for 25 seconds. You've got Flask of the Warm Sun, increasing intellect by 1,000 for an hour. And then you've also got a mana potion if you need it, called a Master Mana Potion. There's a Potion of Focus as well for casters, should they need it for their mana as well. Master Healing Potions are the healing potions, and generally you're going to be using a Great Pandaren Banquet to get 275 in intellect. If you're using food on your own, however, it's going to be a Mogu Fish Stew, which gives 300 intellect. There is a Braised Turtle, which is 275 as well, and Swirling Mist Soup, which gives 250 intellect. But generally, the Mogu Fish Stew is the absolute best, with 300 intellect for all casters. And there we go, guys. That's everything you need to know for Affliction Warlock in Mists of Pandaria. Hopefully that was helpful for you. If it was, then please do, of course, subscribe and leave a like, etc. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so via Patreon in the description, which also gets you access to some LVI profiles and VIP help in the Discord through the channels there. And if you would like to get Zygor, again, you do get money off with my code Javier, and there's a link in the description for that as well, and it will make everything so much easier in Pandaria. Oh my god, in Pandaria for you. Do check out the playlist on screen as well, as I am doing every single spec, as always, in Mr. Pandaria Classic.